E muita areia para o meu caminhão. And welcome to Shft+F1, a podcast about speedy race cars. That, by the way, is a Brazilian Portuguese expression meaning, this is too much sand for my truck. Which means something is too much for me to handle. This weekend apparently proved a little too much sand for some, but we will get to that later in the show. I'm Drew Scanlon. Joining me, Danny O'Dwyer. How are you, Danny?
I'm doing good. I like that. I was like, is that a car at the end of that phrase? I'm like, I think over the years, we've been doing this for, over a decade. I think I'm slowly learning like 18 different languages. It's great. Also very Brazilian to not be able to get, the sand especially. It's probably because you have too many like samba dancers in the back of the truck.
I see.
Or I don't know. I was going to say guns for the favelas, but then I realized that I don't want to do the one thing. I don't want to annoy the Brazilian. You don't ever want to annoy the Brazilian online people because they are don't do that. So let's see how I do after saying that.
Rob Zachney is on assignment this week. We wish him well and hope he is back soon. If you are new to this podcast, a very warm welcome to you. And if you are new to Formula One itself, we recommend listening to our preseason primer episode, which assumes no prior F1 knowledge and explains how the sport works and who everybody is. So if you'd like to go back and listen to that, it's episode 298. I don't know about you, Danny, but I frequently, whenever I'm meeting new people and they're like, oh, what do you do? And I often mention, I also have an F1 podcast on the side. And they go like, what? Tell me more. And I found that having the preseason primer is like a great thing to just throw out in person. Like people often say, oh, I want to get into F1, or like, I don't know where to start, or it just seems like cars go around in a circle to me. I said,
so do you just like ad-lib it? You just like, you just sit them down and go, okay.
Do you have 2 hours? Here's how it goes. It's also, it's a great way to just get out of that sort of awkward conversation. It's like, you can just go listen to the podcast.
Exactly. Or we can just like ask questions about, I was at a party on the weekend, a friend's birthday party, and you're meeting new people, you're chatting, and then somebody brought up the Isle of Man TT. Whoa. And there was like a good 6 people just having a conversation about the TT. It was a good time. Motorsports, bringing people together.
Yeah, it is like I've heard it described, or I've heard pro wrestling described this way, where like no one, until someone broaches the subject, you don't know whether someone is a wrestling fan. And then once you do, everyone is like, by the way, I'm a wrestling fan.
I love elbow drops.
Yeah. Anyway, this show would not be possible without our audience over at patreon.com/shiftf1, where every month we release ad-free versions of the podcast early for our patrons, along with bonus podcasts and videos exclusively for our patrons that cover racing documentaries and films, F1 video games, experiments with other racing series, and a lot of weird things. So if you'd like to support the show and get access to all that fun stuff, head over to patreon.com/shiftf1 or click the link in the show notes. What do we have going on this month, Danny?
We put up our review of Christine. You may remember. Absolutely had a blast doing that. We had a great time. And of course, we will be recording probably next week, I imagine, Herbie the Love Bug, the spiritual successor to Christine. Of course, at least as far as we're concerned. So looking forward to that. Do we know what we're doing for December? Do we ever do any Christmas car movies? Has got to be, right?
In the comments below. I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, you know what? I should clean up that suggestion document and just like have a link to that publicly so people can look and see what's on there. And,
what do we have to clean up? Do we have a bunch of like problematic terminology in there we need to
no,
scrub?
It's just, I like to have my spreadsheets nicely formatted.
That's very true.
Yeah. Speaking of nice grids.
Oh, I should probably shout out the title sponsors.
Come on. Danny, that was the best. Oh, you're right. You need to do that.
Oh, is that what you were going to do?
No. I was going straight to the grids, but yeah.
Okay, no, my bad. Anyway, shout out to all of our incredible...
pretend, put that transition forward to when we actually talk about the grid.
Drew's gone. He's not at his house at the moment, so his internet's not as good because he's a big Veterans Day guy, I guess. Or you've taken advantage of the long weekend. So we've a bit of a delay here. So that's what I'm going to blame it on. I'm going to blame it on Northern California internet issues.
That's right.
One of the fastest internets in Actually, no, definitely not the world. Who do you think is the fastest internet? When I was in South Korea, yeah, that was crazy. What was the internet like in North Korea when you were there?
Pretty bad.
Okay.
Just
Good.
it's like one big LAN and that's it.
Nice. They playing Counter-Strike or I know like they stopped getting games at a certain point. Yeah, Counter-Strike's probably not. It's Counter-Strike, but like instead of the 8 different skins, it's all North Koreans fighting South Koreans. Do you remember that in American's Army? Do you remember that video game?
Oh yeah. I love it.
You were always the good guys. Isn't that
That's
weird?
Right.
You were always fighting people from a certain part of the world. It was very early 2000s coded. Anyway, here are some people from various parts of the world. A beautiful collection of title sponsors who support us over on Patreon. Eaching Wells, Dr. V, Apple TV Plus, Home of Invasion Season 3, Matt and Harmony, Deange, It's a Me Ferrario, Big Oil, Is Not Good on Sad Face. Those are 2 different people. Get Rich Die Ryan, Agave ATX, Cyphers Training, Turf SCS, Michael Maves, Eccleston and Son Sprinkler Solutions, TelemetryTech.com, FTC, Tracy Syntax, Drew Stewart, Bailey Foot, Jason Chadwick, Abraham Getchell, Bunny Crimes, Snakes, HireThisWalker.com, Alex Goucher, Max Voltar Keyboards, Jeff Foster, Troy Stammer, William Rumpf, Lackland the Maddened Man, Samurai Love Story, and Jason Kelly. Thank you all so much for your support. Yes, and welcome Mr. Eccleston and his son. I hope their sprinklers are working well. Didn't need them this weekend. We had a little bit of natural sprinkling.
Certainly not, Danny. Let's get to it. I mean, we can right off the bat talk about the moisture on the track, the right side of the grid. That is the odd numbers 1, 3, 5, etc. You know odd numbers.
I know odd numbers. Yeah.
Those grid spots are on the dry side, and so all of those drivers started the sprint on medium tires, and most of the others started on softs. I thought that was interesting.
Drivers, I get it. Yeah.
Yes, those drivers,
not the
sat
wetters.
in this order. Norris on sprint pole, narrowly beating out Kimi Antonelli in the Mercedes.
Yeah, good job, Kimi.
Start second. Then we've got championship contender Oscar Piastri behind them, and then George Russell, the other Mercedes. So McLaren, Mercedes. Followed by Fernando Alonso, Max Verstappen 5th, Lance Stroll 6th, Charles Leclerc. Verstappen's... Okay, here we go. Take 2. Alonso 5th, Verstappen 6th, Stroll 7th, Leclerc 8th, Hadjar 9th, and Hülkenberg 10th. Hamilton in 11th. I think he had to back out of his final run because Leclerc had a spin.
Yeah, he spun on turn 10, so I think Hamilton was close behind him maybe or something.
Yeah.
I never got an actual replay of both of them, but the commentary suggested that was the case.
Interesting in this qualifying session to see the Ferraris locking up in the same places. Also, I don't know, that in particular contrasts, we're not going to talk about it in the news, but Ferrari executives talking about how the drivers should basically focus on driving and not talking.
Yeah.
Like all the other parts of Ferrari are going great. It's just the drivers really throwing them under the bus. I don't know. Thought that was uncool.
Yeah, there was words from Hamilton after this race as well. He's very open about his current form, and it's been a difficult time for him. And yeah, he's always been a guy to talk about how he's feeling, and I think that's great. But obviously, I can see if you're Ferrari, who are very much, all about showing that confidence and excellence, that might be something they're not used to. We did wonder if there'd be like culture clashes with Hamilton and Ferrari, and there largely hasn't been, it seems. But yeah,
at least
this is one area.
The team at the track, who knows about?
Yeah, exactly. Good point.
Higher ups. Albon will start 12th, followed by Gasly, Bortoletto, and Behrman in 15th. Then Colapinto, Lawson, Ocon, Tsunoda, who didn't get the most running after a crash in practice, and then Sainz starting 20th. Danny, do you want to take us through the start? The sprint.
Yes, Danny O, the sprint. Here we go. Lights out, away they went. And there was a little bit of a interesting battle into turn one between Russell and Piastri, but Piastri got it done. Russell did a good job keeping on the inside and not tagging him. But yeah, for a second it looked like Russell might have had that eager, the turn one up the inside line eager move is definitely something we see a lot here, and we will see a lot over the course of this weekend. They were pretty much fine through the first couple of corners. The only major incident was we had Liam Lawson tagging Franco Colapinto on the way into turn. I guess that's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Was it Colapinto or Behrman?
Sorry, it was Behrman. My bad. I feel. I mean, Lawson. It's a turn one stuff. It's a wet track. The cars are heavy. Yada yada yada. But he basically does tag his front left and spins him around. So, I don't think there was any penalty given for this though.
I also don't have a note here on that. Maybe a lap one incident. Verstappen gets a pretty good start, gets off the line well and by Alonso quickly. Hamilton also, I think, had a pretty good start, got by Hülkenberg and Hadjar before turn one, and then Stroll at turn two. So
he did.
Eat that, Ferrari executives.
Exactly. He went up the outside of turn one, found enough grip, I guess, and when they were all sort of stuck in traffic, as it were, he managed to get the job done, which was pretty good. Lawson, when I scroll forward on the highlights here, I just went to double check. Did have a exclamation point beside his head, but that means it's under investigation. But I don't think anything came.
Was it a yellow one or a red one?
Yellow one.
Yellow means under investigation, I think, and red means penalty coming, or to be served. All right, so lap 6 at the sprint. As we're looking down, it's the straight after the pit exit. Suddenly, into the wall goes Oscar Piastri. I'm like, that's shocking, at the jump, because he's racing after the championship. But then a few seconds later, in a pretty scary turn of events, Colapinto and Hülkenberg both go off at the same spot and also hit the wall. Thankfully, all avoiding each other. And it seems that all three of them appeared to grab the same section of curb, which is slick with water. It's funny that Antonelli pointed out afterwards that he saw Norris go over this curb first, which he thinks splashed water onto the white line, which is the slickest because it's painted. And Russell joked that Norris did that on purpose, saying it's a bit like Mario Kart where you throw the banana out behind. Smartest guy on the grid, this guy.
Yeah. Piastri ate a decent amount of curb on that. He was almost in the grass. He wasn't, but he more so on the exit, and then the other two slightly earlier in the corner. But yeah, it's one of those things. I guess maybe the grip was there before, and then, as you say, whether or not it was Norris or not, there wasn't clearly enough afterwards. Grip was an issue for a lot of people all race, just like top to bottom. Verstappen at this stage is also, because we got a red flag. He's super not happy with the car. They didn't have much practice time. I mean, nobody does. Well, we have a news story about that later. But yeah, clearly the car setup wasn't amazing. He kind of got away with it in qualifying, but he wasn't particularly happy with the amount of grip he was getting, and he was sort of in fourth position, but not really pushing.
Yeah, they ended up modifying this curb before the full race in the intervening time. But yes, as you mentioned, we do get a red flag. Rolling restart on lap 9, which I think surprised a few people. A lot of the teams thought they were going to do another standing start. But I guess race organizers being extra cautious. Norris stays out in front here. Russell makes a good challenge on his teammate Antonelli, but stays in third. Alonso locks up into turn 1, defending from Verstappen, who himself goes wide, losing some momentum, but staying ahead. And
then keeping Alonso behind him for the next 5 or 6 corners, which was pretty impressive, given how much time he had lost. Verstappen was fishtailing on the way to the grid before the rolling start began. It was he was struggling for sure, but obviously probably no better driver on the grid in wet conditions, struggling for grip to be able to keep it on the road. Because Max last year, remember, started 17th and ended up winning. So he's pretty good at these conditions.
Good pass by Ocon around the outside of Lawson at turn 4 for 13th place. Lap 22 with 2 to go. Alonso is trying to hold off Leclerc, but he again locks up into turn 1, giving Leclerc the chance to sweep by in the next DRS zone down the inside of turn 4. And then final lap here, Bortoleto, hometown hero, in a big crash. I'm not sure if this was a result of the dampness of the track or like a rear differential problem or what. I didn't see a lot of analysis after this, but as soon as he hit the brakes for turn 1, he sort of lurches sideways, hits the wall on the inside of the main straight, and then like pinballs to the barrier on the outside of turn 1. Both are hard hits, but thankfully he is okay.
And thankfully, in front of him was Alexander Albon, and he almost collected him on the way.
Yeah, and I think it's Lawson behind him.
No, it's Hadjar behind him.
It's Hadjar. Okay, yeah. Everybody avoids the crash, though. We get some local yellows for this, and as the rest of the field comes across to finish, there isn't really any battling at the line as a result. But hard hit. But yeah, thankfully he's okay. And so the sprint ended like this. Norris on top, getting those 8 points from the sprint. Antonelli comes home second, followed by Russell in third. Verstappen finishes fourth, Leclerc fifth, Alonso sixth, Hamilton seventh, Gasly eighth, the last of the points paying positions for the sprint. Then we've got Stroll, Hadjar, Ocon, Behrman, Tsunoda, Sainz, Hülkenberg in 15th, Lawson, Albon, and then the DNFs of Bortoleto, Piastri, and Colapinto. I guess Hülkenberg. Did I mention it was Colapinto and Hülkenberg who also followed Piastri into the wall on that slick curb? I guess Hülkenberg got going again.
And you might have noticed Albon there dropping a couple of places. Some random chunk of that car that crashed when it hit the inside wall. It got stuck underneath.
I think it might have been his Bortoleto's like entire front wing.
Oh, was it? Yeah, just like wedged
shoved
into the
under
side of
Albon's.
Albon's car.
Wild. Yeah. So that was a sprint. Let's see. Let's take a quick break here, Danny, and then we'll be back with the race grid. The grid, Danny.
The Grid, the multiplayer arcade game we all know and love.
Did you see in the Digital Eclipse's
I did.
Mortal
Kombat
Legacy Collection in the background of Ed Boon's interviews? There's a cabinet of the Grid.
There is a cabinet of the Grid. Where are the other three? You know, you need there's one guy, I've seen Ed Boon comment on this on social media, where there's this one guy somewhere in like the Midwest or something who has, I think, 12 Grid arcade machines.
Are you sure it's not Jeff Gerstmann?
It is, unfortunately, not Jeff Gerstmann. But he has them all networked, and he has his friends come over on the weekends, and they all just play the Grid. It's like
great.
Yeah, a game lost to time, but not in that household.
Not at all. All right, Norris on pole position once again. Actually locked up on his first run in Q3 and had one run to do it in, and puts it on pole. And just like last time, Antonelli will start second. He will start on the soft tire to Norris's medium.
Yeah, great final lap by him. He was floundering a little bit earlier in Q3, but managed to, much to the chagrin of Toto Wolff, actually. He was not very happy on camera, but managed to pull it out right at the death to get second.
Yes. Leclerc third, followed by Piastri in fourth, Hadjar fifth, Russell sixth. He actually, it was interesting, put mediums on in his final Q3 lap. I guess just because it felt better to him. Lawson will start seventh, followed by Behrman, Gasly, and Hülkenberg. Quite a top 10 starting here.
Yeah, this mid pack, the competitiveness of the mid pack has just reached fever pitch at this stage, because Q2 had a lot of interesting people not making it through.
Yes, same with All right, I guess we're saying the same thing. Q1. So let's see. Other soft tire starters in the top 10: Hadjar, Lawson, Behrman, and Gasly. Alonso will start 11th on the hard tires, followed by Albon, Hamilton, Stroll, also on hards, Sainz, Colapinto, Tsunoda, also on hards. 18th is Bortoleto. You may recognize that I haven't said Verstappen yet. He will start 19th from the pit lane. And then Ocon also with a pit lane start in 20th. Verstappen qualified 16th. And according to race fans, this is only the 7th time he's been eliminated in Q1 in his career, and the first on pace alone. It is also the first time both Red Bulls failed to reach Q2 since Japan 2006.
Wow, that's woof. Yikes.
Yeah.
Almost 20 years ago. That's crazy.
Apparently, and Danny, you alluded to this, they went with a really aggressive setup, which really just did not work. And so they opted to give him a new power unit and evidently do some more tweaking between qualifying and the race, which put him in the pit lane.
Yeah, I mean, the problem he had basically, whether or not they changed the power unit or not, the car was in parc ferme and they couldn't touch it. So,
right, you gotta, this is not tenable. We need to do something.
Yeah, he was gonna. It seemed like he had, like we saw in the sprint and in his qualifying performance, he just, maybe the rain in a way in the sprint sort of evened the playing field a slight amount or something. But yeah, he clearly was just set up entirely poorly. I mean, you could argue after the last race whether or not Verstappen's still in the title fight much at all, but they are also in a pretty competitive constructors battle, and I think it was a smart decision for them. Not too many races left to use that. Presumably their last power unit for him. Yeah.
All right, Danny, do you want to take us through the start of the Brazilian Grand Prix?
Sure. I feel like we're at the stage of the year where everyone knows that the McLarens are having a title fight, so no one's being particularly aggressive because Piastri didn't have a great start, but Hadjar sort of just didn't go hyper aggressive, let's say. Not much action in terms of overtaking up and down the field. A lot of folks sort of maybe in the light of a full race length, deciding to not be hyper aggressive. But we did, unfortunately, see Gabriel Bortoleto facing the wrong way and hitting the close. I think aside from the start-finish straight, the closest barrier on the track, the inside of that little arena section. I think it was Lance Stroll, was on his inside. He was blaming Stroll for this, but I think Bortoleto was just maybe over-eager, Freudian slip there. Maybe should have, he was miles behind him. He was a full car length behind him, and probably shouldn't have stuck it up there where he had it. So yeah, it's unfortunate, I think, that happened. And then as they were going, because they do end up pulling out a virtual safety car for this, I want to say. Hamilton actually got a puncture heading up the back straight right at the pit lane entry, which he had to. Who did he tag? He hit the front right of one of the Williams. I think was it.
No, it's so Hamilton. I think is chasing Colapinto back up to the starting line, and he swoops out of his slipstream to the left, and it looks like he might have misjudged it, or Colapinto was unexpectedly slow out of that corner. But Hamilton hits his rear left and snaps off his front wing. Also earns himself a 5-second penalty, which was awarded much later in the race. But virtual safety car. Restart on. Oh, actually, you know what? I just wanted to shout out another solid start here, 2 in a row from Norris. And remember, all of the chatter 6 months ago about how Norris's starts are awful. We never talk about that anymore.
That's true. I don't think he was necessarily under threat from second place much on these in these. I think if Piastri had been in second, we might have had a different story, but he's obviously not had much joy in qualifying. And Interlagos is also another. It's an sorry, excuse me. It's an uphill grid. As where at least where the cars are starting, it does sort of like level out and twist before the Senna S's. So it is favorable for grip, sort of like Austin is and a couple of other tracks. So yeah, one of the easier, and also it's a relatively short run to the first turn. So you're right, he did have good starts, but also this is the track that had he not, it's one of, I feel like depending on who's up the inside of you, it can be very punishing, as we're about to find out, or you know, in his case he had Antonelli beside him for the start of this one, so not somebody who's necessarily going to throw it up the inside.
Well, we get a restart on lap 5. Norris stays out in front, but it is 3 wide behind him into turn 1. Piastri on the inside, then Antonelli, and then Leclerc on the outside. Piastri locks up and taps Antonelli, who then spins, like has a little twist, and hits Leclerc. Antonelli somehow regains control, but has to cut turn 2, coming back onto the track in third place. But Leclerc has a broken suspension and loses the rubber off of his front left tire, which mercifully does not bounce back onto the track.
Yeah, an instantly deflated front left. It was very funny to watch because you sometimes in years past you'd see the tires come off and, you know, these big chunky boys rolling down, bouncing down the hill. This one had gotten so badly cut that it just instantly turned into, I believe Martin Brundle called it a polo mint. The American reference for that would be like a lifesaver, I guess.
Got it. Sure.
The mint, and it sort of like flopped, you know, down the track, which I thought was quite, you know, hey, I like physics. That seems pretty cool.
Some BeamNG action for you.
Exactly. Shall we talk about this incident?
Yeah, well, let's, I guess, just jump ahead here to Piastri earning a 10-second penalty. The stewards say in this quote from Autosport here, Piastri did not establish the required overlap prior to and at the apex, as his front axle was not alongside the mirror of car 12, which is Antonelli, as defined in the driving standard guidelines for overtaking on the inside of a corner. Piastri locked the brakes as he attempted to avoid contact by slowing, but was unable to do so and made contact with Antonelli. Piastri was therefore wholly responsible for the collision, 10-second time penalty, and 2 penalty points on his driving license are considered appropriate and consistent with recent precedents. So, Danny, they are like, hey, man, this is what the rule book says. So therefore, we have to adjudicate it thusly.
I you know, the rule book says a lot of things. You can take them, you can leave them, you can point at them, you can ignore them. This one's a tough one, I think, and I'm not this isn't, you know, I'm not like pulling for Piastri in the title chase. I have no dog in this hunt. I don't think it's in his favor that he wiped out 2 cars. Let me just say that first of all. I think it's a bad look that he basically ends one car's race and hits another one. I do not believe that matters in terms of how they adjudicate stuff. I doubt the sort of causality is the big issue here. But I do think that if I'm adjudicating this and you see a car go up the inside, you see smoke from a locked tire, and 2 cars end up getting hit, that they should get a penalty. That maybe they should get a penalty. I can agree with that. What I will say in Piastri's favor is that the lock happens. I guess first of all, Antonelli knows he's there. This is not a turn 1 Austin situation where somebody like Hülkenberg, right, where somebody goes up the inside, nobody knows they're there. It's the start of a race. Piastri is like side by side / in front of him earlier in the corner, so he knows he's there. issue is, I guess, that he locks up. He locks up before the apex, or like at the start of the apex, and actually manages to get even closer to the apex by the time the crash happens. So he is essentially on the inside white line of this turn when the contact happens. And Antonelli is like clearly watching Hamilton on his right and worried that he's going to hit him. And he turns in and hits Piastri. Like, Piastri can't go anywhere here. And in interviews afterwards, Antonelli even said that he thought Piastri was hard done by on the penalty. Leclerc ultimately was the one who was really hard done by because the back of Antonelli's car swung out and hit him. But I also think Oscar Piastri was hard done by on this one. I see the logic. I think it's an easy penalty to give, but he didn't, like... Are we saying now if you hit a car at any state, if you don't have the turn and you tap another car, that you get a penalty? Or does the causality matter? Because we often see cars go up the inside and they like tap wheels and both cars end up getting away from it. Do you get a penalty there? You don't. So, yeah, I think if, I think in 2 years' time, if this same incident happens, Antonelli doesn't hug the inside as much because he has more race experience and he knows that there's plenty of space around the outside. I'm not blaming him for it, of course. He's the sort of like jam in this sandwich, but yeah, I felt like it was a little bit of I don't know. I understand why it happened. And also, I can't get away from the idea that I was disappointed as an F1 fan who, I have that bias, right? I want to be entertained by a title fight.
Yeah.
I don't want to see the penalties get involved. But that's obviously a bias that has no implication on how we should adjudicate these things.
Yeah, it's such a... This stuff's hard because you want to have rules, but you also... It's like a really fluid situation. It's not like tennis where is the ball out or not. Like, it's
right.
all very... There's so many factors that go into this stuff. I think we're running up against, when you try to create black and white rules, you have to adjudicate them in a black and white manner. And that sometimes results in something like this where it doesn't feel right. But on the other hand, you can't just, you need to have some measure there, because if you, and I'm not saying this is what Piastri did, but you can't just like have cars YOLOing down the inside and being, smashing into other cars and saying like, well, he turned in. Well, yeah, it's a turn. He's going to be turning. I can't believe he didn't see me from 300 yards away. Again, not what this incident was. I think rules are there to Piastri, because of the lockup, it indicates that he didn't have full control of his car. But did he lock up because he saw Antonelli turning too sharply, or more sharply than he thought he was going to do?
He locks up before the apex. That's the one thing that it's actually like a really well taken turn. Like, you don't want to be flat spotting your tires. I get it, but it was a pretty short one. It was at low speed, and it was at the end of a braking point, and he didn't. Like, if anything, him braking at that point was the thing that gave Antonelli that extra car, extra couple of feet that got himself. There's a world in which he really like kamikazed himself down that inside, was ahead of him at the apex. I don't know where you find out where the apex is on turn 1 at Interlagos. That's such a weird one, but because he does lock, but it actually like improves his line when he turns in, because he's closer to the apex than he would have been had he turned in earlier, because then you drift out. You know what I mean? Because the cars, they're not like, they're like ships. They can't just hug the apex of this turn 1 there.
Yeah. I mean, what I don't want to see are irresponsible moves, right? Yeah. That's what I'd like the rules to prevent. this didn't feel irresponsible from either driver. And it's something that Leclerc even echoed after the race. And, he got taken out of the race because of it. He says in this quote from the-race.com, I actually think Kimi was as much to blame as Oscar. For me, it was a bit of a 50-50 incident, Oscar being a bit optimistic and Kimi doing the corner like Oscar was never there. So that means they collided and then touched me. For me, the blame is not all on Oscar. Yes, it was optimistic, but this could have been avoided, and I'm frustrated. At the end of the day, I'm not angry with Oscar or Kimi. These things happen, but I wouldn't go as far as saying it was all Oscar's fault, because I don't think it is.
Yeah, but I'd agree. I didn't hear that quote before, but yeah, I entirely agree. I think Kimi, I put it down to just lack of experience. It's very difficult racing and protecting at the start of an F1 race. But he had acres of space on the other side with Leclerc, so just it was unnecessary. He didn't need to come in as tight as he did. He's allowed to, of course. He's not to blame in the, Leclerc is saying he's to blame in the sort of driving standards way, not necessarily in the who gets a penalty, the rules of the sport way.
Sure.
And I agree with that.
Well, soon after, Tsunoda also has trouble getting his car stopped and rear ends Lance Stroll, spinning him and earning himself another a 10-second penalty.
I swear to God, Tsunoda has had more. I feel like he must be winning the penalty stuff this year for just.
He got 2 points for this one, yeah.
He has spun out more people in like place 15 than any. Like, he has spun out more people outside the points than like maybe anyone in human history. It is incredible. I feel like every single race, I'm like, I wonder who Tsunoda is going to take out this week.
I mean, it's tough back there, man. It's a lot of scrapping going on.
It is, especially when you're hungry, and he's like desperately trying to get this car. He's watching Verstappen, who by this stage I think is in fourth, who started behind him. He's like, oh no, but he just ends up, he's the one. It's so funny. It's like, I feel like if I was an F1 driver, I would constantly be looking in my mirrors for Yuki Tsunoda, and I'd be like swimming away from the shark in Jaws whenever I saw him coming, because you don't know he's gonna slam on the brakes into one of these turns, and I'm going spinny. And I think him hitting Stroll is just funny. I think that's like net neutral to me. That's like, great, all right, no victim then. We're good.
Max, I think, is in 13th or so by this stage.
Oh, okay.
He's not quite. He's moving up the field, but he's not quite there yet. We get a virtual safety car. I think this is also when Verstappen pits, so that he comes out in the back at 18th.
He got a puncture, right?
He did, yeah. So so lap 7 is when he pits and goes from hards to mediums. Restart on lap 8. Piastri hounding Norris but can't get by. Russell though gets by Lawson into 5th place, and then by Hadjar with DRS into turn 4 for 4th on lap 12. Lap 13, a pair of moves happen at turn 1. Behrman from way back on the inside of Lawson for 6th place. Verstappen with DRS on the inside of Hamilton, who is carrying damage from that lap 1 incident. Hamilton eventually retires on lap 37 with that damage.
And it was the carbon fiber from that incident that we presume is why Verstappen had his slow puncture.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. Hamilton was issued a 5-second penalty for that Colapinto incident that they served on a subsequent pit stop and then retired soon after, I think. So the classic penalty serve pit stop before you retire the car. Love to see it. 5 laps later, Verstappen passes Alonso with DRS into turn 1 and just keeps climbing the ladder, getting by Albon on lap 21 for 5th. Albon also gets passed by Hülkenberg a few laps later with a great move around the outside of turn 1 for 6th place.
Yeah, look at these guys. The top 10 is wild at this stage, And also those racing bulls, it's very funny to see them completely out-qualify and perform the majority of the Red Bull cars over the weekend. But obviously Verstappen with his new power unit and setup is tearing through, as he likes to do. This is his like, sometimes you like set the game to easy mode and you start at the back, or it's just like something for a challenge. This is what he does here to like play racing with the kids. He likes to start from the back and then win the race, or at least try and get on the podium.
Shout out to the meme paddock channel in the official Shft+F1 Discord for, I think it was an image that said something like, every great brand has its cheap knockoff. And it was,
oh no,
the Haas brand with the knockoff of Ferrari, and the Racing Bulls brand with the knockoff of Red Bull.
That's good.
And it, sure feels like that sometimes. Lap 39 is when Piastri serves his 10-second pit stop. He had inherited first when Norris pitted, but he comes out from the pits in 7th place. Lap 49, some more fireworks from Behrman scrapping with Hülkenberg at turn 1, following him through the S's and then getting by around the outside of turn 4 for 7th. Behrman, I'm continuing to be impressed by.
Yeah, he's doing really well.
And Haas in general.
He's got great racecraft, and yeah, he's not scared to have those types of battles either. That's a tricky part of the track, to be throwing yourself around. Hülkenberg gets up on that curb again there, which is where he spun out in the sprint, but obviously they felt more confident about the dampness at that stage. But yeah, Behrman's he's maturing. I think we've seen a lot from him. We've seen him progress, I think, a lot this season.
Yeah. Lap 55, Verstappen makes his third and final pit stop. Counter strategy to basically everyone. There were a ton of different strategies this weekend. And it's funny looking at the race fans lap chart, because you can see where everybody pits, and then Verstappen's kind of counter to that and then pits later. He kind of zigzags all over the place.
And he's on softs at this stage as well, right? And basically the entire grid, I think, at this stage is on mediums. So yeah, he's totally counter strategizing. Is that a word? Strategizing? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. And he, has to make them last 17 laps. Hülkenberg, though, he did a one stop.
Also on
starting on mediums, and has to, 36 laps on mediums, and then has to finish 35 laps on softs. So.
No way. Did he really?
Yeah.
Wow. That is irresponsible.
But yeah, Verstappen starts doing what he does best, closing up to Russell on lap 63 and getting around the outside at turn 1. Norris comes across the line in first, and Antonelli holds on to second by about 0.4 over Verstappen, who has pursued him in the closing stages.
Yes, last 5 or 6 laps were really a great drive from Antonelli to keep Verstappen behind him. Fought like a lion, as Alonso would say.
Yes. But yes, Norris on top of the podium, Antonelli second, and Verstappen in third, again from the pit lane. And Danny, I don't want to say Verstappen is underrated, but I personally sometimes take his talent for granted, and just sort of assume that he's going to be awesome. But when you step back and look at performances like this, it really is amazing. I think I'm feeling very fortunate that we get to watch such a talent in our races.
Yeah, I mean, he is one of the best of all time. I think we have certainly in the modern era. He is right up there. He has the championships to prove it. I think Interlagos, the makeup of this track, I guess it benefits Red Bull to a certain extent, but I think it really benefits his driving style. I think, it's basically one big wet go-kart track, and he sings at tracks like this where I think other people struggle a bit. So I think the delta for him here is probably better than a lot of other tracks. But yeah, he does stuff like this, and he did it this year. We just took it for granted because he did it last year. He's that good that we sort of, our assumptions about how well he will do are incredibly high. When it comes to the McLarens, though, Lando Norris, we haven't talked about him much this weekend. He had a remarkably consistent weekend again. He qualified well. He qualified, tenths of seconds ahead of people. He was basically unthreatened in both races from start to finish. And Oscar Piastri obviously had an unfortunate out in the sprint, and then I guess it was that penalty that it ultimately came down to, whether or not he was, over eager early or he saw the opportunity. He was behind Lando, putting pressure on him for a number of laps before that penalty was eventually adjudicated. But unfortunately, it just was another weekend where he ends up losing points, and he comes in fifth, so that's 10. That's a 15-point delta between him and Lando, and then obviously Lando won the sprint, which was 8 points, and he crashed out. So 23-point swing, not great for a race weekend this close to the end of the season.
Fourth place was Russell, followed by Piastri in fifth. Then we've got Behrman in sixth, Lawson seventh, Hadjar eighth, Hulkenberg finishing ninth with that one stopper, and Pierre Gasly getting a point for Alpine in 10th. Behind them, we've got Albon, Ocon, Sainz, Alonso, Colapinto in 15th, Stroll, Tsunoda, and then the DNFs of Hamilton, Leclerc, and Bortoletto. I've got to believe that double DNF contributed to... I got to look up exactly the name of who this guy at Ferrari said.
And poor Bortoletto as well at Paulista, crashing out. His family was there. Scenes of him hugging his family and crying, probably a mixture of frustration and sadness and happiness as well. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. Not a great return to home for him.
Elkan.
Who's Elkan?
Elkan.
Why do you keep saying Elkan? Are you trying to activate me as a I was about to say Mancunian candidate. I'm from Manchester, and I'm going to assassinate somebody.
No, I'm trying to figure out who said those quotes. John Elkan. He is the... I'm sorry, this is bad. Why don't you...
It's good stuff.
I'll go to the news, and then I'll figure it out. Okay, first news story here. I deliberately didn't include it in the news because I just thought it was just drama for no reason. So that's why I'm not prepared for it. Anyway, Alpine has, we talked about this last week. There were rumors that they were going to retain Colapinto for the 2026 F1 season. That has been confirmed. So not a lot else to say here. We assume for the 2026 season only. They did not say anything about a multi-year contract. So Jack Doohan, the other hopeful, out for real. He is apparently going to try to do a Super Formula season next year.
Cool. They love and Super Formula, so he should do well there.
That's true. Speaking of the future, Danny, we've got a few news stories here about an upcoming race and the upcoming year. Please take us through it while I figure out the job title of John Elkann at Ferrari. I think he's the president or CEO or something.
Sure. A couple of sort of quick hits. There are some chats about some format changes for next year or beyond, and then a bunch of these are all sort of separate conversations, and then a bunch of chat around, I guess, the issue of tire wear and how many pit stops are going to be allocated per race / per one particular race. So let's start with that one. So the Qatar Grand Prix last year, they had mandatory stint lengths in 2023, and they got rid of them in 2024. And it basically created an issue with the competitiveness of the race. So they're thinking about doing something similar, establishing a stint. I guess the issue, with Qatar in particular is the curbs that they had. So they had these big curbs in 23. They shaved them down effectively in 24 to try and get rid of this issue where
it's a safety thing. Like the tires were getting shredded.
Yeah. But so it's an issue with the abrasion generally, I guess. There's a certain type of tire wear that happens there where it just absolutely eviscerates the outside of the tire and exposes the inside much faster. So they are talking about bringing in a stint length maximum to basically stop people from running them too long. Which
would effectively force a two-stop race.
It would. Which we'll come back round to, because that's another issue that's coming around on us later in the news. But yeah, so that's a conversation that's happening at the moment with Pirelli and F1, I guess. In terms of format changes for next year, some of this is in, I guess, reaction to Cadillac to a certain extent, and some of it is in reaction to the issue we are having with the sprints and also, I guess, race duration. So the first one is that they're trying to put down in paper some sort of practice whereby if there is a red flag in practice on a sprint weekend, that the teams can get back some of that time. Because of the nature of practice when it happens on the weekend, whenever there is red flags on a sprint weekend at practice, they don't get any of that time back. And it's already tricky enough them turning up. We saw it with Verstappen this weekend. You essentially have to dial in your whole setup. And Tsunoda, yeah. They did a counter strategy with him. They didn't do the exact same thing on Max's car, apparently.
Well, yeah, my point is that because he crashed in practice, he got virtually no time. Although I'm not sure that this rule would have benefited him. But yeah, if they stop for a red flag in the only practice session, and then they're limited by time, then yeah, their meager practice allowance gets even shorter.
Yes, so they've floated ideas of adding 15 minutes, I think was the maximum to the end of sessions. But yeah, this is just something that they're sort of has come a cropper. I think that was the first red flag at a sprint we ever had, or as well. I think it might have been. I don't remember. I guess that's not qualifying, but I was interested in that as well. I think it might have been the first time we've had it. There's also a conversation about extending the quali session times. With Cadillac coming in next year, they are already changing, how many cars go out in Q1 and Q2. But currently there is nothing on the docket for extending the time of those, because you're going to have an extra 2 cars out on the grid throughout quali, I think, because they're going to chop more. Maybe it's still down to the top 10 for Q3.
It is. So I think you eliminate 6 from Q1, 6 from Q2,
so they're
and
adding
that leaves
1.
you with 10.
So yeah, they're talking about adding 1 or 2 minutes to qualifying sessions to basically stop the type of stacking that we were already experiencing in qualifying. This one's an interesting one because while I think they definitely should do this, it makes sense. It's not even like they're all like the cars are looking for a particular time slice of qualifying as well, where they want to be a certain place in the order. They want to be really up right next to the checkered flag going, so they can get all that awesome track temperature as well. The benefit of that, maybe a slipstream. So I think next year with the extra cars, we're going to see a lot of things that we're going to point at and go, oh, that's because of the extra cars. Some of which may be true, like exacerbated, and some of which maybe were already issues that were in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting because like there was some chatter from a Mercedes guy saying that strategy might be completely or I think it was Russell saying that overtaking spots are going to be all over the place because of the way that the battery will work in 2026. Right. And I think given the new regulations and the fact that we're bumping the cars up to the number of cars up to 22, I think, there will be a lot of things in flux, rule tweaking as the season progresses. But this one's weird. The qualifying one, instead of extending the time of the session by a minute, why not? I would simply leave the pit lane earlier. Won't we all just figure out to do it sooner? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Or my point is that they'll just all go at the end anyway. It'll be like the minute's not getting added to the end of the session. It's getting added to the
20
start.
minutes, then they're just going to sit in the garage for 19, and then everyone's going to go out at the same. Yeah.
So I do worry that isn't necessarily going to fix that particular problem. And then the last one is some sort of standardizing of the race duration. So currently, right now, the races are set to a distance, but there are some track like a established race length. But because of the very variable speeds of each of these tracks and lengths of each of I guess less of the lengths. Because of that, we have situations where some races are an hour and 40 minutes, some races are an hour and 15 minutes. So I wonder if this is coming from a broadcasting perspective, whether or not, I can certainly see the argument there.
I think it absolutely is, because we have there's a cap on how long the entire event can last. It's 3 hours, and that's inclusive of red flags. And I think
2 hours of track time.
2 hours of track time. So neither of those can be exceeded. But I think the desire here is for more consistent and the broadcasters want to be able to know more precisely how long it's going to take.
Yeah, I guess. So I don't know if that means that they add laps to Monza, because that's one of the fastest, the thing is, like, if a red flag happens or a safety car happens or a virtual safety car happens, like, it's not like they're going to get this thing, we got a wrap, we got 5 minutes left. All right, let's, ad breaks coming. So let's chop off the last couple of laps. I guess I understand, like, to tighten it up a bit, but yeah, so no one quite knows whether or not this means adding laps or taking them away. I would be in favor of adding, but and for one of the reasons I would be in favor of that is the next story we have here from Autosport, which is about the team bosses raising concerns over mandatory two-stoppers. So this is not a safety issue, I don't think. I think this is them trying to add a bit of spice to the sauce, like trying to game out some interesting fighting. But
it's something they're thinking about. It's not a done deal yet.
It's not. But I think what's interesting is that the team principals have come out and almost unanimously said this is a bad idea. Similarly, I don't know where this idea came from, but I'm no technical expert when it comes to racecraft and F1, but this seems like a real silly way of essentially making sure that everyone's on the same strategy.
Well, yeah. I mean, it feels very knee-jerk, like, well, the pit stops where the things happen, and we... a team might mess up, and so there's more drama if you introduce more pit stops. But I think this quote you pulled from Alan Permain, from Racing Bulls, is perfectly succinct.
Yeah, he says one of the things that makes a two-stop race tricky is when the tires aren't really suited for two stops. So you need to have tires that demand the two-stop race. If you force a two-stop, you can end up with everyone doing the same strategy and actually having the opposite effect. Andrea Stella and James Vowes agreed. A lot of other folks agreed. And yeah, it reminds me a little bit of the, I don't know, like it's, do you remember what it was like 7 or 8 years ago? You had that cliff. I feel like we don't have the cliff anymore. We don't talk about the cliff.
The tire cliff.
The tire cliff. Yeah, there was the tires, a decade ago, maybe half a decade ago, the wear on them. Maybe the teams are a little bit more dialed into it, but the wear on those bad boys used to be like, if you had half a lap left and you hit that cliff, you were in trouble. And obviously there's been a lot of changes to the tires, just in terms of, their size as well and everything else over the intervening years. It'll be interesting to see what tire wear looks like next year. Cars won't be as heavy, but they're gonna I don't know, be powered differently. There's gonna be more of them. I don't quite know. It even shows you like this weekend. Like I think they resurfaced a chunk of Interlagos. I think it might have been the straight, and even that just had a massive effect on how the drivers were able to push, especially during quali. And we talked about it with LaSalle as well. Like there are certain tracks that just have, it's stuff we don't think about. Like the type of asphalt that's right there is so critical to a lot of this stuff, and there's so many variables, which is probably why sort of one size fits all strategies like that sort of make my toes curl a little bit, where I'm like,
It makes me think like, Danny, think of how many touchdowns we would have if the field were only 50 yards long.
Exactly.
Think of how many goals we would have in soccer if the net was the entire width of the pitch.
I think these are the types of questions that they were asking that eventually led to them creating Aussie rules football. So,
or
maybe
the XFL.
You're right. The XFL. Yeah. He hate me.
He do.
He hate me.
All right. Well, those are your news stories. Oh no, I've forgotten to open up the
driver standings. Did we do that already? Can we have a little chat? I feel like we haven't had a proper little chin wag about the McLaren, about the top of the driver standings for a little while, because they've sort of entered the territory of the winner is they're not fighting each other, they're fighting themselves, is kind of the way I would put this championship if I was to summarize it.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No. So yeah, what are your thoughts at this stage? Because obviously at the start of the season we were talking about how Piastri was just this like T1000 man. He was cold as ice. He wasn't able to, he was able to stick it. And Lando was the guy who gets a rush of blood to the head, and he just, when push comes to shove, like in Russia or a couple of times this year, he just wasn't able to stick it out. And what we're actually looking at now is Lando, really the car kind of coming to him as well, and really being able to put out consistent weekends. There's been a few of them now, and what we've seen is Piastri making a lot of mistakes, like crashing on his own. I do empathize with him on the 10-second penalty this time around, but there's no getting away from the reality that was a move born out of some element of desperation that he has, given the fact that he was leading the championship and now he's so far behind. There was an interesting interview with Mark Webber. I think it was on Sky Sports. I caught it on Reddit or something, where they were saying like, how do you talk to Oscar about this? And he sort of like tried not to. He tried to talk around it, but he basically intimated that like Oscar is in his head a little bit about at the moment and is frustrated and is, he's sort of maybe ahead of the car, which is not something you want to be, especially turn one at Interlagos. So yeah, I'm interested in the all that needs to happen is one of these cars has a bum weekend and it's back on. I don't think it's done by any measure, but it is very much in Lando's hands. And I think if he's able to retain the same sort of cool consistency that he's had for the past few races, I think he'll make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I was trying to say earlier about Norris and improving his starts is that what I am feeling now is that I'll feel there's a way to feel satisfied or appreciative or whatever about either driver winning, because if Piastri wins, then he has, he showed dominance in the early season and he came back when he faltered. If Lando wins, then it feels to me, or the narrative at least sounds to me like he overcame a lot of his inconsistencies to cement himself as a great driver. I think I also have to hand it to McLaren for being pretty hands off. They've said that recently that they would rather, and this is like they're afforded the flexibility to say this because they've already secured the Constructors' Championship, but they said like we would rather, I think Zach Brown says this, would rather have a Max Verstappen champion than to pick a number one driver on McLaren. And that's, that is another thing that we can't really take for granted because like in past years, decades ago, that was like strange to not have a number one driver. So
well, Piastri fans on Reddit will show you videos showing how papaya rules are,
I mean, completely. And I understand a lot of those arguments. But I also just personally have a hard time getting bogged down in that stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's been a great battle. We've got 3 races to go. Oscar is 24 points behind.
Yeah.
As you say, anything can happen in these last 3 races, though. Verstappen is, 49 points off of the lead. Yeah, so that's a tall order.
Yeah, I can't see that. I can't see that happening. But look, maybe not that so much, but like it is crazy to think that Zandvoort and Baku were only 1 race away from each other, Monza in the middle, because like when Zandvoort happened, you had Piastri dominate that weekend. Quali, fastest lap, led every race, won the race weekend. Lando finished 18th. And then in Baku, you had, Lando didn't have an amazing race weekend that week, but he was pipped to 2nd position in Monza. And then Baku was the weekend that it just came off the rails for Piastri. He crashed. He had a jump start. he everything was just, and then he ultimately was out on the first lap. And since then, Norris has pipped him every race, and he hasn't had a podium. He's been 4th or 5th for the past 4 races, and in that time, Lando has secured a podium in every single race. And it's very. I couldn't have seen this coming. If you were saying this to me at Zandvoort, or even, maybe even after Baku. Baku's a weird one.
They look flipped.
Yeah.
Like the vibe for me of how I am feeling about the form of these 2 drivers has just swapped.
Yeah,
which is fascinating.
Yeah, it is, and
it means it can happen again. So
it can. There's only 3 races left though, so it's gotta happen soon.
Lando is still on top, Oscar 2nd, Max Verstappen 3rd, and then we've got George Russell in 4th, Charles Leclerc 5th, Lewis Hamilton 6th, Kimi Antonelli in 7th, Alex Albon in 8th. Still, great.
How about 9th?
Yeah, Nico Hülkenberg, and then 10th, Isaac Hadjar. Both are tied on points. Then we've got Behrman, Alonso, Sainz, Lawson, Stroll in 15th, Ocon, Tsunoda, Gasly, Bortoleto, and then Colapinto and Doohan, still with 0 points.
Poor Sainz. 13th this weekend, was it? He's been somewhat sort of. Yeah, he had
a lot of bad luck there.
Yeah. Aside from that podium he got in Baku, it's not been awesome. I don't know if he's getting any closer to being comfortable in that car. I guess Albon's not exactly setting the world on fire. That was a stronger car earlier in the year, I think, and Albon sort of skating maybe on some of the early points he got earlier in the year, but that mid-pack's crazy. If you were to, whoever's winning our fantasy league at the moment is either a sort of mystic or sold their soul to the devil at a crossroads, or much more likely is just lucky.
We'll get to that in a second, but first the team standings. McLaren on top, of course. Mercedes is currently in second with 398 points. Red Bull in third with 366, and Ferrari in fourth with 362. So that is still a close fight.
Yeah, 4 points. That's nothing. That's going down to the last race, folks. Yuki Tsunoda is going to make sure of it.
Williams is in fifth, a solid fifth, kind of standing alone there. Racing Bulls in sixth with 82. I mean,
wow.
Let's see. They are 29 points back from Williams. That's probably a tall order. Aston Martin in seventh, Gene Haas and team in eighth, Sauber in 9th, and Alpine in 10th.
I'm like surprised Aston Martin are ahead of Haas for some reason. I guess
only by 2 points.
Yeah, but I'm just surprised. I think it's probably. I mean, Hülkenberg's doing a lot of the heavy lifting at Haas. I feel like points wise, whereas the other two are probably spreading them. Yes, sorry, I'm thinking about. I'm just always thinking about Nico Hülkenberg.
Yeah, Behrman is in 11th with 40 points. Esteban Ocon is in 16th with 30 points. So fairly.
Yeah, I guess they are pretty split even. Yeah.
But yes, you can join the standings yourself using the link in the show notes to join our F1 Fantasy League from the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. The podium looks like this. In third, No Winds Tunnel.
Nice. I get it. Wind Tunnel. Funny. Wordplay.
Second is The Fast of Us 2025. And in first, from Sao Paulo, Nefarious Narwhals.
Wow.
Yes.
What's going on with narwhals in Sao Paulo? I didn't. You got to take your truck full of samba dancers and drive over them on the beach. That's what you got to do.
It is
friend of the animals, Danny O'Dwyer.
Too early in the morning, I guess.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm pretty tired. I'll be honest. I played a lot of Ark Raiders last night.
Oh, it's so good.
I know. I should have.
So
gone to bed earlier.
Got
to kill those. Got to kill those clankers.
I stayed up late watching. I've been baseball pilled, Danny, after the World Series, and
it's a weird time, November, to be into.
Well, it's also a great time to get in on the ground floor of the next season, of watching trade rumors and moving around.
I usually wait till spring training, but you're just like, no, pre-Thanksgiving rumors. Let's go. Have you watched the Ken Burns documentary series?
That's why I stayed up late. I was watching episode 7.
Really?
Of baseball. Yes,
we know each other
long.
Too well, sir.
Yep.
He's putting out that new American Revolution series. I think this week it came out, and you're back in the goodies.
Oh yeah.
Baseball's a long one. I mean, he has a lot of long ones. Obviously,
it's like 20 hours long.
Yeah, I thought the baseball one was maybe one of his longest. Yeah. Do you watch? Do you check out Secret Base on YouTube? John Boyes. You like John Boyes? Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah. Their Mariners one also is just one of YouTube's greatest series.
It's fantastic. John Boyes is maybe my favorite creator. Definitely in the sports space. He's never touched F1. I don't think Secret Base have done much F1 stuff. Maybe I should start doing some contract work for them. But yeah, he for people who don't know, John Boyes, Bois, he does a bunch of these. He essentially uses a interface that he designed in Google Earth to show like data, like stats,
graphs.
because you could like infinitely zoom into these things. And yes, the Mariners won. I am now an Ichiro fan for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah,
because of that Mariners one. Yeah, but he'll do ones on like just like I think he picked a random name in baseball and tried to he did stats on like this one.
Everyone
name.
named Bob.
Is that? Yeah, I think it was everyone. The Bob problem. I think it's called. It's very good. And like the worst pitch. Like what was it? Yeah, just like the worst. Like who got walked the most or something like that in the history of baseball. It's good stuff.
It's good stuff. You don't even need to be a sports fan to enjoy it.
No, absolutely not. Or you don't need to care about the particular sport, which is kind of me in baseball. I mean, I kind of like baseball, but
overall in our fantasy league, though, the top 3 looks like this: Ukulele (parentheses Endor 8000) and another Swapperoo here in second. F1 banned my team name, and retaking first place, The Fast of Us 2025.
Swapperoo, Seb.
Swapperoo. All right, that is the standings. You can also hit us up on the emails, shiftf1podcast@gmail.com or f1.cool/emails or the socials. That's us around the internet. Should we take it around the world? Danny?
Let's race around the world.
Nice. Speaking of future races, I should point out that Qatar is a sprint round, so more than just 75 points on offer. We've got a total of, what is that? 83.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
75? 25, you mean? What? 75?
75. That's
total
first
points.
Place for, all 3 rounds.
No, but then we have to add 8 plus 7 plus 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1.
No, I'm talking about if you come in first place.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were just adding up all the points for some reason. Maybe it is early. I'm blaming arc raiders.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Ferrari chairman John Elkann, by the way.
Ah, okay.
Yep.
Chairman of the board.
Yep. Bored.
I'm so glad you got that reference. We've been watching too much Norm Macdonald videos.
It's almost like we've known each other for over a decade. MotoGP is in Valencia at the Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Valencia, Spain, for the Gran Premio de la Comunitat Valenciana.
Publicly funded.
Repco Supercars are at the Sandown International Motor Speedway for the Penrite Oil Sandown 500. The NHRA, they are in Pomona, California, a good place for the In-N-Out Burger NHRA Finals.
How about that?
Man, I had some In-N-Out coming up to Tahoe on the way up.
Nice.
It really, it still hits the spot.
Did you go to Placerville?
Placerville?
I love mispronouncing it. It's my favorite because it's just like a place.
It's just a place. It's old Hangtown, Danny.
I was about to ask, did you know the original name of Placerville? Old Hangtown. Did you know they took the noose off the old city logo there last year or 2 years ago?
No, dude, okay.
Yeah, just America, man.
Huh. All right.
Yep.
Anyway, that's all the racing that's going on this weekend.
That's
more of it coming up. So stick around. Danny, that's what's going on this weekend, but what happened this day in history?
This day in days of yore, back in the good old days of November 12th, 1995, I think this one is. Damon Hill took his 14th Grand Prix win in Adelaide on this day in 1995. It was too late to have any effect on the championship when Michael Schumacher had already wrapped up, but it was a significant for the margin of Damon's victory. He was a full 2 laps clear of the second place man, Olivier Panis. That is wild. In the Ligier. Jesus Christ. Only the second.
A lion and a tiger.
Exactly.
And a Formula One car.
Only the second time in the history of the World Championship this has happened. The first was in May 4th, 1969 at the Spanish Grand Prix when Jackie Stewart beat Bruce McLaren by the same huge margin. Hill was aided by some collisions behind him as his Williams teammate David Coulthard hit the pit wall while Schumacher and Jean Alesi ran into each other with both forced to retire. This was also the last Australian GP to be held at Adelaide, which had hosted the event for 11 years. The race moved to Melbourne the following season. That's so funny. I consider Adelaide to be this classic track, but it was only 11 years. I mean, Melbourne's been on the calendar for 20 or so now. So, incredible. That's brilliant. Winning a race by 2 laps is hilarious. Because,
that's like some 1930s stuff,
Yeah, that's like Spa, and you finished like 20 minutes before the next person, because they're lost in the Ardennes.
Right.
That's wild. You would have had like +4 people, who was crossing the line? Who crossed the line first after him, and how many laps down were they at that stage? That's good stuff. I love it. Facts are fun, man.
They sure are. All right, Danny. Well, any final thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's 3 races left, folks. There's no race this weekend, but we are off to Las Vegas. I'm actually off to Las Vegas this weekend.
Oh, sweet.
For a Fallout fan celebration, which is a fan-run Fallout New Vegas, I guess, themed thing. You're gonna love this. It is not in Vegas. It is on State Line. So
amazing.
Wait, the state line on the way back to towards Barstow, when there's like 2 absolutely horrible hotels. One's called Buffalo Bills. It has a closed water park. It's about 40 minutes southwest of Vegas. They do it there because that town is so post-apocalyptic looking already that it just looks like. So I can't wait. It's going to be great. You have to stay at Buffalo Bills, which I think is one of the worst maybe hotels, major casino hotels in America. Yeah, so the place Reno may look like Monaco, so I'm very excited for that. But yeah, we only have a couple of races left: Las Vegas, Qatar, and of course the final one.
And I think it's a triple header.
Oh my God, is it? You're right. It has to be. We're getting so late.
Yep.
Oh,
so
boy.
Buckle up, podcasters.
Yeah, the narratives. Just keep space in your heart right now for the narratives, because we might get some real good, papaya rules madness going on. Or Lando will be cool, calm, and collected. Really, be his inner Piastri and get it done. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, if you would like to support the show and get access to all of our bonus episodes, the early ad-free version of the pod, and the official Shft+F1 Discord, you can do so over at patreon.com/Shft+F1. Have a good race weekend, everyone. We will see you all next week.